Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight. And like the video in the headline says, we'll be talking a lot of Tyreek Hill. Should the Dolphins trade Tyreek Hill? We'll look at the pros, the cons. Can they even do it? What are some of the salary cap ramifications? What would the compensation look like? I think it depends on the scale of the money, how much the Dolphins eat, how much do another team eats. We'll get into all that. Plus, how does the offense look post Tyreek Hill if they were to do the deal? And plus, we'll get into other Dolphin stuff. And joining me is a guest that we've been trying to get together for a while now. Evan, a.k.a. Finn Stanza from the Finstock Sports Network. Evan, thanks for joining me tonight, man. How you doing?
Anytime. Happy to be with you. Whenever you want me on, I'm always happy to talk Dolphins. It's just on the Finstock Sports Network, when you have kids and you're trying to balance it with guys who are also busy, it's nice to be invited onto other podcasts because at least it gives you a different perspective versus you having to come up with your own content. So I'm always happy to come on and talk. So anytime you want me, I'm here.
Great. I'm glad to have you on. And thanks, everybody. Of course, we're live on YouTube and on X. And make sure you hit that bell, like all the good stuff that we're supposed to say to help support the channel. All right, Evan. So we talked about it at the top. The video says it. Should the Dolphins trade Tyreek Hill? Well, I guess let's go back to the last game of the season where he basically quit on the team. What was it, the third quarter, fourth quarter?
And the third.
He quits on the team. Not only that, after the game, probably shouldn't have had a mic in his face, but basically, one way or another said basically he wants out. Then recently, a few weeks later, after Drew Rosenhaus probably got his teeth in him and said it's not a good look, he kind of retracted and said, I love the Dolphins. I love Tua. Everything is rainbows and butterflies. And here we are. If you're the Dolphins, don't you got to look at just what happened down the street with Jimmy Butler? I've always said this, right? I don't know if you guys ever had a job once you kind of like, I can't take it anymore. It's so hard for you to walk through that door. And then, you try, and a few weeks later, you just end up quitting. Once your mentality is that you won out, right? And you quit on a team, and we're having issues of culture in the locker room, players being late, which McDaniel said at the end of the season. Evan, but I don't know about you, but I think, the guy he's talking about mostly and the players are talking about is Tyreek Hill. It all looks like he's coming back, but what kind of perked my interest is Cam Wolfe. You're familiar with the NFL reporter who's, when he talks, listen, because Cam's very connected in the NFL, especially the Dolphins. He said, look, yeah, it's assuming he's coming back, but he hasn't, and he talks to people in the organization. You know that. He says, look, I haven't heard that it's 100% certain by anybody that he's actually coming back. So I think there's that small window that's open, probably some team that blows him away with a deal, or probably some team that will be willing to eat the money and give their asking price. But I guess we'll start here. We'll get into all that. We'll start here. Evan, should they trade him?
No.
Ooh, okay.
Absolutely not. You want me to elaborate?
Yeah, elaborate.
Elaborate.
Yeah,
I elaborate.
I was actually expecting you to go the other way.
No,
but go ahead.
I'll tell you why they should not trade him. They signed him last year to an extension that they didn't have to guarantee him his money. At the same time, on Finstock, on FTSN, none of us were for the Tua extension. You did that. Then they made it public that they extended Mike McDaniel, which if they extend Mike McDaniel, they probably extended Chris Greer. They gave Jalen Waddle all that money. You built your team for speed. You built your team around star wide receivers. You're putting in $58 million just between Waddle and Hill. You're giving Tua over $50 million. No Tyreek. Then if you're going to trade Tyreek, you might as well just give it up and trade Tua. Tyreek Hill is the best player you have on your team, and it's not even close. Is there baggage? Sure. But you chose to take on that baggage. If you didn't want that baggage, you shouldn't have given him his extension last year. Also, Tyreek Hill could talk all he wants. He lies out of both sides of his mouth, but he's set up in Miami. He has his place in Aventura, Soul Runner. He's having another kid, all this. He's not going anywhere. And it's one more year. Also, as much as Tyreek Hill, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel said, well, maybe it's better if we build up assets. I'll put it this way. If Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer were gone, Tyreek Hill wouldn't be on this team. But Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer are on the hot seat right now with their jobs. The reason why they didn't fire one or the other is there was no more half measures. So I was beyond the word disappointed they didn't get rid of McDaniel, but I knew that they can get rid of both, or you might as well keep both and we'll be miserable for most of next season, unless they prove us wrong. Tyreek Hill is the only chance they have to go somewhere next year. If you trade him, Tua loses his number one asset on that field. It's not Achane. It's not Jonnu Smith. It's not Jalen Waddle. It is not whoever you're going to go draft. Tyreek Hill was a reason why last season he was rated the number one player by his peers. Does he have a lot of baggage? But the difference with him and Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler had to be suspended. Tyreek Hill knew what the score was. He was playing with a bad wrist. It was a mess of a season. I think if I was Tyreek Hill, no offense, I don't blame him for saying what he said and do it and quitting when he quit. Because if I had to listen to that word salad, inexperienced, never been an OC in his life head coach, I'd quit too. If I literally am the number one player rated in the league and you give me under 1,000 yards and I'm the third rated receiver on the team behind Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane, I'd be miserable too. I'm Tyreek freaking Hill. I've made the playoffs every single solitary year. I have been one of the top receivers in the league for the last 6 to 7 seasons. I've worked my tail off to be in the shape that I'm in. You treat me the way you want to treat me, and then you don't treat me as the number one player on your team, I would be pissed too. Tyreek Hill has his baggage, but that's always what you're going to have with a star player. If you can't handle that, then you shouldn't have traded for him. In the end, I put this whole saga of Tyreek Hill's behavior on one person and one person only, and that is Mike McDaniel. Tyreek Hill's behavior is on that head coach. Because if Brian Flores was the head coach of this team, he never would have been pulled over. He never would have had the injuries that he had, and he would never behave the way that he behaved. Tyreek Hill did not do that with Andy Reid. This is all on Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is the reason why this team is a disaster. There's a reason why coaches are leaving. There's a reason why Deron Holland is talking out of both sides of his mouth now. Oh, my team, I'm not on the Valentine's Day stuff for the team. Last year, I'm going to go kick rocks with Vic Fangio. Like, all this is on Mike McDaniel. Tyreek Hill's behavior, I don't put it on Tyreek Hill. I put it strictly on the shoulders of Mike McDaniel.
Okay, so you make some valid points. My answer would be yes, and they should have done it last year. Okay, because at his best, at Tyreek's best, Evan, what was his team? At his best, what was that big season of 23? What did this team accomplish? He's on the wrong side of 30, right? He is. He's a speed receiver, and look, he took a little bit of now he still has it. But just a little bit.
As you said, he still was rated the number one player.
Right. By his peers, correct. If they did that ranking right now, where would he be?
Top 20.
1 to 20 is a big dot, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah,
it's only going to go backwards.
But if you look at the way the team played on offense last year, when they started faltering, yes, he doesn't come up in the big games, but that's on the head coach. Because if the head coach wants his star players, he wants his speed guys. So you have to find a way to make it work. But if you're not going to make it, if Tyreek Hill is not the focal point of your offense, you're not going to win. If you completely take him out, so even if you don't make him, make him the focal point of your offense, you have a chance to win. If you don't make him the focal point of the Dolphins' offense, you're guaranteed to lose.
Right.
And I'm sorry, if the team is built the way they're built now, and you get rid of Tyreek Hill and you just draft it out, they're not going to be better next year. So Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer are looking to be fired. The problem is you can't get rid of Tyreek Hill as long as Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel are in the fold. If they're out of the fold, then you can restructure the team. But as long as those two are on the team, you have to remember, these are the same two guys who confidently told you, I believe in Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones. These are the same guys. So as long as these two guys are in charge, you better keep your best players around, because if not, they're guaranteed to be fired. Now, should they trade him? No. Do I want them to trade him? Yes, because if they trade him, it's more likely that Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer will be fired next year.
Oh,
That's the only
yeah.
reason why. That's the only reason why I never want my team to lose. But if it means that the Dolphins get rid of Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, I don't mind trading everybody, because these two guys are the laughing stock of the league. Because I've never seen a team misutilize their players and their skill set more than anybody. Myself, Brett, and Greg, who do Finstock Overtime on FTSN, said when they started faltering last season, when Tua started getting injured, we said what was going to happen if Mike McDaniel didn't focus on his stars. And what happened? They crapped the bed when they forgot about Tyreek Hill. They crapped the bed.
Yeah, let me ask you this. I agree with you 100% that the reason why most likely he won't go anywhere is because of the two guys you mentioned. And believe me, there's nobody that wants Chris Greer out of here more than I do. You know, McDaniel to a lesser extent.
Brett's been holding fire for Chris Greer since 2016.
Yeah. Same. The minute they replaced Tannenbaum with him, I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? And exactly what's happened here. Anyways, but yeah, nobody's been wanting him out more than I do. But my question more is not what's better for the franchise, right? Not so much.
Not to trade him yet. You can't trade him yet. As long as two.
But
the only way
this
you
is
trade
his
him,
last year with the Dolphins, regardless.
No.
That cap number next year is jumping to 51. They're not keeping him next year.
Yeah, but I think if they're not successful next year, it's Tua's last year with the Dolphins too.
Right.
By the way, that
doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You can still get compensation for him now. Start the tweak
only post June 1st. You can't trade him now.
Right. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But what I'm saying is you can't change a whole offensive style in one offseason, but you can only tweak it, right? So you can start that process now when you can get something for him, because next year you won't be able to.
You can't tweak your offense.
Right.
Because you have Mike McDaniel as your head coach.
Well, he's going to have to do something.
No, he can't. Because as long as the play call sheet is in his hands, nothing will change. Last year, Devon Achane in space, check down, that was the most garbage I've ever seen in my life. You have two speed receivers, and you have Jeff Wilson sitting on the bench, Raheem Mostert sitting on the bench, and you're using Devon Achane up the middle and in space with no blocking. Are you kidding me? Like, and I brought this up, and we'll talk about it later. But my number one things I mentioned on a couple guys last week. The biggest mistake they ever did last year was actually not re-signing Rob Hunt. Because if you look at Rob Hunt this year, that was a big problem.
Well, the biggest mistake wasn't signing him a year before that.
I would have paid him 20, because this year, if they want to sign a lineman off free agency, it's going to cost them more than 20.
Yeah, what is Trey Smith going to get? 25, 26?
Yeah, and by the way, Robert Hunt didn't give up one holding penalty last year. Liam Eichenberg just got a holding penalty getting out of bed. Okay? But Tyreek Hill, the thing about Tyreek Hill is the reason also they will not trade him is because of Stephen Ross, and I'll tell you why.
Money.
As bad as the team can be sometimes, Stephen Ross is all about flash, and he wants relevancy. The Miami Dolphins were started being talked about on NFL Live and Good Morning Football and on Mike Florio and Chris Sims and everyone like that and Rich Eisen because of Tyreek Hill. The moment Tyreek Hill leaves his franchise, the team will be irrelevant to the media.
As long as
the fact that they're in the media, because Stephen Ross has the Jerry Jones syndrome. It doesn't matter if they win, as long as they're talking about you. There's no such thing as bad publicity for Stephen Ross.
As long as Tua's here, they will be talked about.
They'll be talked. No, but that's in a negative manner. Tyreek Hill, doesn't matter. Tyreek Hill gives you eyes.
How much was Tyreek in a positive manner at all last year?
No, but it talked about, but it was good for his. But it still doesn't matter. He was still referred to as the number one guy in the NFL, and he has a chip on his shoulder now. You think he wants to go through what he went through again next year? Plus, Tyreek Hill's going to be playing for a contract next year. He knows that if it doesn't work out for him with the Dolphins next year, he's going to get cut. And if he has a bad year, he's not going to get that money again. If he has a good year with the Dolphins next year, then he will have a good year. He just can't be a captain. That's also the thing. There's a lot of pressure. Let Tyreek Hill just go play football. Just let him go play football.
And what was he doing this last year?
The whole arrest thing, the whole legal stuff,
But
the whole thing about the
he
kids.
keeps finding himself. He's putting himself in those situations.
But
Evan.
yeah, but you want to know why? Because the team lets him do what he wants.
Bro,
And you never heard him talk about this in Kansas.
and that's
City.
going to change
Yes.
under Mike McDaniel.
I'm saying for
They're
him.
gonna all of a
I'm
sudden
saying
take
for
Mike.
himself. I'm saying
Here's
for
my other problem,
himself
Mike
because
McDaniel.
because this is the 1 year. Last year he knew his money was coming. After this season, his money ain't there. He knows that.
That's
he
true.
Has
That's
to
true.
He has to behave himself next year.
But why wouldn't you want to do that somewhere else?
Because of the fact that honestly, he's all about this. Do you know how much money he's making as sole runner in Aventura? Do you understand his setup here for him to pick up and move? With also the legal troubles and all that, I'm telling you this right now, people until he deals with his legal issues in Miami, people will forget about this. No one's going to touch him. They can all talk about wanting to trade for him. As long as he has those legal troubles in Miami, he's not getting traded. He's not getting traded. Yeah, I am more. I would. And by the way, I'd be more open to trading Jalen Waddle before trading Tyreek Hill. The biggest mistake this franchise made was trading up after they traded down was trading back up to get Waddle.
That second trade was
the dumbest trade I've ever seen.
Do you remember that was like on the pro day, right? I think it was Zach Wilson. I was like, whoa, Chris Greer, he got 2 1s and we picked 12. Yeah. Okay, we're not getting there. And then an hour later, my heart, I was so disappointed.
Oh my god! By the way, because they could have stayed there and got Jamar Chase
at 12,
at 3,
at 3, and at 12. You know who went 12, right? Michael Parsons.
Yes.
And they could have just let the board play out like Philly did. Of course, Philly is the one, who took us, in the backyard. And you know what? They went up 2 spots and told, we'll give you a third. Yeah. We'll take the other Alabama receiver. We're fine with that, and Devontae Smith at 10.
Yeah. And also, the whole thing about Greer McDaniel, and I say this all the time, the reason there's 1 more year there and a lot of stuff, I always said it, is because the one thing that also he takes pride in is the fact that Ross likes the fact that he has two minorities as his coaches, and or his coach and GM, and also the whole Flores lawsuit's still open there, and Greer was involved in that. So for me, it's all about this is the last year, because if they don't win a playoff game, if they don't win the division, all this stuff, the team will get blown up. The team will actually get blown up to the point of no return.
Because I'm not sure about that.
They have no choice.
Wait a minute, but are you sure? Are you sure that Chris Greer is definitely on the hot seat? I mean,
this year, yes.
McDaniel, I'm 100% sure.
Yes, I think he is because he put himself in that position. Because of what happened with the offensive line, because of the fact they didn't have a backup last year, because he probably put the thing down with McDaniel to agree to pay Tua. Then they're going to lose Tyreek Hill next year and all this. This is Chris Greer's last year.
So let me ask you this question in the chat. You can, I believe so too, but I've said that for like a couple years now.
No, I didn't. I never thought he was going to be fired this year. I didn't think Greer was going to be fired. I wanted McDaniel to be fired. But I didn't think Chris Greer was getting fired this year.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. Knowing this is probably Tyreek's last year with the Dolphins, you would agree with that, right?
Unless they win the division. And they win a playoff. Unless they win 2 playoff games, unless they get to the NFC.
How confident are you of that, winning the division?
No. I said I told you, the only thing that saves them is if he wins the division and they win a playoff game. He'll be back next year because McDaniel will be back next year, and they'll find a friendly way to extend him and keep him here longer.
I'm willing to bet the odds that doesn't happen as much,
It depends. Honestly, it all relies on.
So let's say I would say more than likely or not this is. Would you say more than likely or not this is Hill's last season though? If I said here's $100, put it on the table.
Okay, I'll put it here. 100. Okay, if McDaniel and Greer are not here, Tyreek and Tua. Okay, if. Basically, a ton of players will not be. Tyreek Hill is, to me, in the same boat as McDaniel, Tua, and Greer. As long as Tua is your quarterback, that means...
I don't agree.
Let me just tell you that. As long as Chris Greer is the GM, Mike McDaniel is the coach. As long as Mike McDaniel is the coach, Tua is your quarterback. As long as Tua is your quarterback, Tyreek Hill is your number 1 wide receiver. Period.
I agree with you there, but I'd stop at the Tyreek Hill. As long as Tua is the quarterback, Tyreek Hill is the receiver. I don't. This notion that Tua can't play without Tyreek.
Can't.
Look what he did with Jonnu Smith. How many catches did Jonnu? He can throw to a tight end. He
How
can throw
many
to
games did we win?
How many games did we win the year before? The year before that?
We
Not
were
much
very
different.
good.
Not much different.
Well, 2 years. The thing about last year.
It's all the same.
Last year, no. Last year, that was a Mike McDaniel complete. I don't know what I'm doing. That had nothing to do with Tyreek. I'm sorry, Tyreek. You could look at. Are we going to blame Kelsey for what happened in the Super Bowl? That was on Mahomes.
Is Tyreek the best player in offense they have? Yes. But you got to have a little foresight.
I'll put you this way: the player, the second best player on offense. This right now on the Dolphins, probably it may not even be on the team yet.
Okay, but let's just say this. I will agree with you that yes, does this team get worse offensively? Do they get less dangerous offensively? Yes, with Tyreek Hill. But can you put some sort of offense, change it up, spend on the offensive line this year? Spend a little bit.
As long as Mike McDaniel's your head coach, forget it. Sorry.
Then Mike McDaniel is going to.
The only way that happens.
Going to let him out the door. Then
I'll tell you this.
Eagles going to let him out the door.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Look at San Francisco. Purdy was not the same player without Ayuk, and without McCaffrey. If you have a guy like McCaffrey, or a guy like Derrick Henry, or a guy like Saquon Barkley, or a guy like that, then you could survive with mid wide receivers, or not focusing on your star wide receivers as your main focal point. But until they get over the fact that Devon Achane is their number one running back, you better have a Tyreek Hill. Because if they think that Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith and Jalen Waddle can lead this offense, I'm laughing. Because Devon Achane was picked in the third round for a reason. He's small, and he's a pass-catching running back. If you think if Derrick Henry was on this team, fine. If Saquon Barkley was on this team, fine. If Christian McCaffrey was on this team, fine. Devon Achane and Jalen Wright and whoever you're going to, unless they draft Genty at 13, I don't want to hear any talk about the Tyreek Hill trade.
There's a number of big backs in this. This is a deep. This draft?
No. They're not. Genty is the cream of the crop. He's your Jahmyr Gibbs. He's your Derek. He is not. There's no running back.
There is backs. There is backs in this
but
draft.
they're not franchise altering backs.
How about improve the offensive line? That's you have to do. Listen, they're not going to win if they don't.
Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill made it to the playoffs and won playoff games with the bottom feeding offensive line. Yes, I agree. You should go after the offensive line.
Those are exceptions to the rule.
But not premium guys. They're not premium guys. Robert Hunt was a third round guy who's making
second round
guy. Second round. So you're right, second round guy who got $100 million contract.
Right.
You're a star offensive lineman, unless they're franchise altering, like a Penei Sewell who's playing right tackle. But even Joe Alt did a great job last year, but it didn't help Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was ended up costing them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you on the interior. I'm not. You don't need to go crazy. The tackle positions where you got to be really invest your assets, but you got to spend a little bit of money. If you look at, you can't have Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones at your guard
position. That's on Mike McDaniel because
that's on both. That's on Greer.
I'm going to tell you this now about Chris Greer.
Yeah,
Chris Greer does have his say, but you saw it with Flores, and that's why they fought. Mike McDaniel banging the table, you're not trained Calais Campbell. The money, everyone knows the reason why Tua got his contract was Mike McDaniel. If Mike McDaniel wants a certain kind of player, Chris Greer is not going to tell him no. Devon Achane was a Mike McDaniel pick. Could Jalen Wright trading up? That was a Mike McDaniel pick. Mike McDaniel has as much say in the player personnel as Chris Greer, because I'm telling you this now, he believed, this is the same guy who believed that Mike White and Skylar Thompson were viable backups to Tua Tagovailoa. As long as that guy is your head coach, that's fireable on its face. That is fireable on its face. So the moment Tyreek Hill better be a Miami Dolphin next year, or their plan is to tank again. And we're 2019 all over again. And they'll be fired. I'd fire them. I'd fire them now.
Chris Greer's the general manager. And his job is not look for the best interest of the franchise. When
he doesn't know.
Right. But then it's on him. When he got that, I said,
Harrison.
wait, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's his responsibility. When he took that title, I'm not blaming Mike McDaniel because look what he has to do. When McDaniel says, Skylar Thompson and Mike White, let's let these guys battle it out. No, Chris Greer's got to come in the office and say, hey, I understand you like those guys.
You have there.
But then you don't. Then you have to move.
I agree, but that's not what they
problem.
are. But that's
the main problem.
But that's going back to Gase. That's always been how it is.
Right.
Gase,
but that's the
Flores,
fundamental problem.
I agree, but that falls on Garfinkel and Ross because they let them go about their thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you right now, Chris Greer is not going to pull a Miko Harrison. He is not going to do it. The guy is literally,
I don't think I wanted to pulling a Miko Harrison.
No, but I'm saying this right now. Chris Greer is a coward. We all know that. There's a reason why there are only 3 GMs not speaking, and he always pulls over Hal Habit and Isaiah Smalls, and he's going to pull over Barry Jack. He's going to pull over his little crew, David Furones and Chris Perkins and Omar Kelly. Joe Shad. He's going to go into his little corner in Indianapolis and have a quick little chat for 10, 15 minutes. He won't go in front of the media. That's what's going to happen at the Combine. Chris Greer knows how to play the game. So, but in the end, you can't blame him for it. He's one of the most brilliant men you'll ever meet in NFL because the fact that he survived this long is insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I would love, and there might be some truth where he knows where all the bodies are buried. You know what I mean? Like that, because all the stuff that's gone on since he's been there, there could be some. And you mentioned a name. We're going to talk about him a bit. Is Garfinkel, who I think has a lot more influence in this organization.
You got to use your stars. I'll tell you this right now.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Let me ask you right now. Yeah. In your mind, who was the best team in the AFC this year? Who did you think deserved to be in the Super Bowl? Who should have been in the Super Bowl over Kansas City?
Obviously, it's between Baltimore and KC. Probably Baltimore.
You want to know why? But you want to know why Baltimore lost?
Their best players?
No. There was an easy stat to see. You know how many games? Do you know how many games the Baltimore Ravens won when Derrick Henry started and went for over 75 yards or more? Do you know how many games they won? They won every single game.
Right. But
you know how many games they won? No. Do you know how many games they lost when he went under 75? They lost all of them. What happened in the playoff game? They put it all in the hands of Lamar Jackson, who's proven Jack nothing in the playoffs, instead of handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, and that's why they lost. You went to get your prized possession to help Lamar Jackson, and instead you're throwing the ball to Mark Andrews.
Yeah. Agreed. Look, but that formula has got them to the AFC Championship. Our formula hasn't even got us a playoff win. Like their formula works.
But that's on the head coach. John Harbaugh basically oversold himself. Dan Campbell, in the end, the players can only do so much. It's coaching.
Yeah, but here's
coaching gets you places.
Yeah, you have Kansas City, you have Baltimore, and you have the Bills. They faced each other basically the best one. But
in the end, by the way, it's not Joe Burrow's fault. It's Zach Taylor's fault. Patrick Mahomes, that wasn't his fault. That was on Andy Reid player personnel, how they did not prepare that offensive line the way they needed to be because they lost the Super Bowl. They lost the Super Bowl exactly how they lost the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. You knew that your offense, that defensive line was going to come at you, and you were not ready for it. The offensive line is there to protect your quarterback. And if you don't give your quarterback time and space, it's fine. Our team last year, the reason why they struggled is because Isaiah Wynn was not ready to go, and they signed him anyways. They drafted Patrick Paul in the second round when they knew Armstead was coming back. It made no sense to me to have a project guy because I'm sorry, most offensive linemen who are drafted in the second round start. By the way, because in
I hated that pick. Hated that pick
because in Tampa, their starting center was a guy they picked in
Graham Barton.
Barton.
No, he's first round pick.
First round pick. But they drafted him. They started him. Multi-use utility player. My buddy's my best friend, big Bucks fan.
Yeah, my brother's a huge Bucks fan.
So my point is that they draft these players as projects versus actually impact players because also number one thing about this team right now is they're the oldest team in the NFL. And for me, I like the fact that they have to re-sign 29 players. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do.
Eh,
But Tyreek Hill is a linchpin. He's a linchpin for
right.
me.
I would go as far as to say this. I think they should have traded him last year. And I think they missed this whole rebuild when they
They
went
never
from the,
should have re-signed Tua.
Wait, no. That's another subject. That's another podcast that we can get into. But specifically Tyreek Hill, I think where this rebuild kind of went from being a young team collecting draft picks, I think the beginning of the end was actually trading for Tyreek Hill. You drafted Jalen Waddle at 6, make him your number 1 receiver, see what he has, build another.
They did for 1 year,
right? And he was,
he was a slot receiver.
He was a slot receiver. But get another receiver, a weapon, what size, another young one. You could have done it in that draft or the draft after.
I don't necessarily agree.
I do. I mean, it's
because
opinion.
Look at the Eagles. The Eagles.
Wait. Unpopular opinion. It will be against that Eagles. Totally different.
No, they got AJ Brown.
They
got AJ Brown.
They started inside building their team. Then they added. We started the opposite with Flash. We had a nice car with great paint, great graphics, and the motor was trash. That's basically what we have, right? They started inside, V8 motor, and then they got the weapons on the outside. They got.
But I don't draft it. Yeah, but the guys they have in the motor in the middle,
our second round picks,
our second and third round picks.
That's fine. Do that.
Yeah, but no. But I'm just saying, for me in the draft, I want premium players. If one of the top wide receivers, the defense needs more help right now. But if one of the top wide receivers or one of the top running backs in the draft is sitting there, I'm drafting them.
Oh, if Ted McMillan is there, if Ted McMillan's there, that's my guy.
Ted McMillan, 6'5",
220, you send Tyreek's ass out the door. Out the door.
No. If Tate McMillan, Ashon Genty, Mason Graham, Tyler Booker are all there, and they take a Graham or a Booker over a Genty or a McMillan, they're out to freaking lunch.
Well, because they don't do it's best for me. I'm always BPA. I don't
BPA,
care what anybody
don't go
says.
for need.
When you go for need, it's Austin Jackson. That's what happens. You take Austin Jackson.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, we said that the same. We think the same, Evan. We're not seeing eye to eye in this Tyreek thing.
If I'm for example, we know
I'm
this.
Surprised, dude.
Yeah, no.
I'm surprised.
Right now, in number 1 player in the draft, I don't care what anybody says. It's not Cam Ward. It's not Shedeur Sanders. It's Travis Hunter. You take the best player in the draft. The guy could play corner. The guy could play receiver, but he's the best player in the draft. You know what you're getting with him. You don't. Ward's going to be good.
I'm a
Ward's
big
going to be
Ward
great.
fan, though.
No, but I'm saying you take when you draft a player, you take the best player. You don't draft for need. You draft because after the draft, then you can go figure out what you need to do.
Yes, it's not free agency. When you have a pool of players, this is your chance. This is where you get your Hall of Famers, your gold jacket, your all pros. This is where you get them.
Yeah.
You don't pat. We did it twice in that 21 draft. Okay. With Chase, we moved off. Then we moved back up, and we passed up Sewell, where everybody knew that was a gold jacket.
I'm not. For example, I'm not the whole thing about tight end. I don't think we're deep at tight end. Just because Jonnu Smith had one good year, the man can't block.
They need another tight end, but I'm not taking Tyler Warren at 13.
No, but they better draft a blocking tight end, or go get a Zach. What's his name? I don't care who you get. Go get Zach Ertz. I want a blocking tight end. I want a 6. There's this guy. I forget his name. He's one of the. He's gonna be a 7th round pick. I want a guy who could be a blocking tight end. Ingold for me. I'd cut him tomorrow. I love Ingold, but I'd cut him tomorrow to save money. I would cut Bailey to save money. I would be cutting all these veterans and drafting. And I would, if your player's not there, if one of the star players not there, trade back and collect as many picks as you can. And because honestly, they need to draft a lot of players. They have 10 draft picks. I would like them to have 13 or 14 if they can.
I agree. That's why I want to move off Tyreek. I want
Tyreek. I don't think, but Tyreek won't.
Let's talk about that.
Tyreek will not net you more than a second.
I'm fine with that. Now
you traded you traded 3 firsts for him. You're going to trade a second,
and you got years of production out of
him. Lost a pencil trade. Now at this point, if you trade Tyreek Hill before this season, you basically admitted
you're not going to be able. Evan, but my point is, this is the last season you're going to be able to trade him. You're not going to be able to get nothing. And to me, this is 80% chances last year.
If I'm in winning mode,
you think they're a Super Bowl team?
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? It's like
okay, I'll put it this way: if Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer
I'm not worried about that.
No. If they care about the Miami Dolphins, their jobs, their goal is to win the Super Bowl. Period.
If they come back with that same kind of offense, and these teams copycat
I think
stuff,
they will because Mike McDaniel.
they're both out. They're
Of course.
both out.
But I'm
They're
saying,
both out. So
Mike
if they don't realize that, Evan,
no,
then
that's my point. Is that you better at least leave the weapons. If you don't leave the weapons, forget it.
allocate money somewhere else.
Tyreek Hill is going nowhere.
I agree with you.
Nowhere.
I agree with you. But I think there's a slight crack in the door. And by the way, he got Wes Welker fired. So that's ridiculous too. That leads me to believe he's definitely coming back. Oh, I think he did.
It doesn't matter. In the end, like I tell you, it all filters from the top. And the top for me is the for me, in the end, it falls on Mike McDaniel. I don't care what Chris Greer does. I don't care what Tyreek Hill does. I don't care what Tua Tagovailoa does. In the end, the head coach is the face of the franchise. And as long as Mike McDaniel thinks this is basically a social club where he is the social worker who's there just to make sure everybody is happy.
Bobby, see, that's why me and Bobby
If they trade Tyreek Hill for a second round pick, Chris Greer, but by the way, it won't happen. You want to know why? Because Tom Garfinkel and Stephen Ross won't allow it. They will. I'm telling you this right now. Tyreek Hill is not tradable this season.
But you mean contract wise, or
no,
or you mean because Steve Ross wise?
Steve Ross wise.
But don't you? I get it because you're saying that. Look, he wants to be marketable and relevant. He wants to win, but he also wants to be just as much marketable and a relevant franchise. As long as you have Tua, you're market and relevant, right? And winning games
as long as Tua Tagovailoa is there, we're watching a show about stupidity. Because I'm telling you this right now, as smart as Chris Greer is, I've never met, I've never witnessed in my life, and I have his jersey, and I like the guy as a person, a dumber athlete than Tua Tagovailoa. He is the stupidest athlete I have ever bared witness in my life. When I watch the game with my kids, I go, you see that guy number one? You know why he wears number one? He's the number one idiot. Because the man has the easiest job in the world. And he basically decides, no. He has the easiest job in the world. Why? It's a tough job to be a quarterback. But you have a fan base where half the fan base is obsessed with him. You have a head coach who tucks him in at night, who's his best friend, who defends him to the hilt. You hike a football, you throw the football. No, I'm going to run with the football. I'm going to dive with my head. I am going to run into somebody's chest. I'm going to hold on to the ball for 25 seconds. Instead of looking up at the press box or looking up at the suite and seeing Dan Marino. Dan Marino hardly ever got hit. Tom Brady never got hit. Drew Brees never got hit. Peyton Manning never got hit. Why? Because those guys knew they were quarterbacks. They're not athletes. They're not football players. They're passers. They have not an athletic bone in their body. They knew that they had an arm. They were smart. They were anticipatory. And they threw the football. And when they didn't have the chance to throw the football, they got rid of the football. Instead, we have a guy who basically is putting his life, his career, and the people around him in jeopardy because he thinks he's Lamar Jackson. He thinks he's Patrick Mahomes. He thinks he's Josh Allen. That is the problem with Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't think he does have an easy job, though. I agree with what you just said. Like he can't help himself, and that's part of his competitive nature.
That's Mike McDaniel's fault.
Right. But he's under a microscope more than anybody in the league.
But that's on Mike McDaniel, because Mike McDaniel.
No, that's been too.
No, you want to know what? Because Mike McDaniel could bench him. Mike McDaniel could tell him if you do that again, 100%. What do you mean?
Tyrod Huntley, Skylar Thompson.
No, he could have. He could have had so many backup quarterbacks, and we know why they didn't draft backup quarterback. They were afraid. They were afraid to hurt Tua's feelings.
I agree.
They are.
Hold on, Evan. Hold on. Give me a second.
That kid's feelings.
Look, I agree. They're allergic to quarterback competition.
That's your question.
I agree. Wait, I agree. But there's no backup quarterback that was available that's going to run this offense.
By the way, can I ask you a question?
None.
I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
When you were watching the Jets game, last game of the year, Did you happen to notice what the? Did you actually? Did
The
you happen to,
sunglasses?
what the? Did you happen to know? I live in Canada. It was
That
cloudy.
concerns
It
me,
was
dude.
cold.
That does concern me.
What is?
That does concern me.
I think in his earpiece. You know what he was listening to? Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at
Wait.
night. Because what the
That
heck?
worried me a little bit. That worried me a little bit.
Honestly,
Can I
this
tell you that I'm not
franchise-
as worried about the concussions as I am the hip now? Because when he came out, there's people who said, look, that hip's going to last about 7-8 years. And we're on year 6. Like, I might be more worried about the hip than
I want him to succeed more than anybody.
his time's coming to an end.
But
in a couple of years.
when I see him not looking at tape of players who play the position like he was, and he continues to do what he's doing, the way you control that, he only has one boss on that football field, is his head coach. And his head coach is basically destroyed him. Because I don't think the whole talk about Tyreek, the whole thing about Tua needs Mike McDaniel, the best medicine for Tua Tagovailoa is to get rid of Mike McDaniel, because there's still that in kumbaya. If he had a different head coach, his stupidity of all what he does on the field would be gone.
Fair point. Yeah, I mean, Tua's, I mean, we could do a 2-hour.
Oh, Steve Malloy, you're a lover. You've been raving about him for years.
If there might be somebody who has a stronger point on Tua than you have, and it might
Malloy's
be
loving me tonight. Malloy is loving me tonight.
He loves it. He's like, oh, I had Steve on so many times, and when you get Tua talk going, he goes up a level.
If I read you the text when Steve Malloy was basically egging me on every game, saying how wonderful the team was, and I was ripping him to shreds, it was like almost like a 180. Where I used to be the positive guy, but he used to do it to troll me all the time. It's so funny.
All right, everybody, we're with Evan Finstanza from the Finstock Sports Network. Everybody, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We're talking Tyreek. We're talking Tua. We're talking, anything Dolphins.
That's me.
We're doing therapy here.
I'm Mr. Tangent. By the way, I love it. I love it though.
Yeah, hit the bell, whatever that thing is. We have to say it. It's a bell,
like
right?
The subscribe button.
Is it a bell? The subscribe button?
Yeah, it's a like button.
Do all that, and also do all that in the Finstock Sports Network with him, Bobby, and all those guys, friends of the program. All right, so we both agree, most likely, Tyreek's coming back, right? I agree. I agree with you that he's coming back. I think me and you differ is should they trade him. I think this is the last year you can do it. The numbers go. Let's look at the financial ramifications. Let's say they do, right? Pre-June 1st is 28 million. Right, post it goes down to about 13, almost
15.
Yeah, it said I had it here. It goes
13 to 15.
Yeah, it says something like that. Yeah, it goes down to 12.97. So it's a $15 million difference. And by the way, you can't trade a player, let's say pre-June 1st, and get compensation this year and designate it as post. You have to wait till after June 1st to trade him. And to me, I think if they're going to trade him, it'd be before, unless things get out of hand and more off-season, more off-field stuff. But then again, if that happens, who would want him?
Yeah, there's a dozen players on this team I would trade before Tyreek Hill.
Okay, but let's focus on Tyreek. And basically, Tyreek has a $1 million roster bonus, I believe, in the middle of March. Then he's got another $15 million bonus, almost $16 million at the end of August. Then he has his 10 base salary. Now, a team, if they wanted to, could take all that, right? And obviously, your compensation would be, you're probably looking at a day 3 pick in that circumstance, right? If you just thought it was addition by subtraction, you wanted to redo the chemistry in the locker room under the new Mike McDaniel, and that's another funny thing.
Straight up, I just want to let you know, if they ever were to trade him, all the teams, the reason why I don't believe it is they're not trading him in the AFC. So all these teams are talking about, like the Chargers and all that, I wouldn't touch him in the AFC. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him.
All right. So what I was saying is,
I don't want to see him anytime soon.
Now, a team could say the Dolphins could eat that 2 roster bonuses, and the team would only have to pay the base salary for Tyreek. So if you're getting Tyreek for the 25 season for $10 to $12 million, that's worth a second round pick, I think, right?
I would not. I'd rather cut Tyreek and get the cap savings next year than trade him for a second round pick this year and eat a cap. Right, but money.
I wouldn't.
He's
Yeah,
not-
that's where we
I'm-
disagree. That's where we disagree.
You lose a lot of credibility as a GM if you trade Tyreek Hill for a second round pick.
No, why not?
But
That's
also
his
Chris
market
Greer will
value.
never
That's
do
his-
that. Let me put it.
Stephon Diggs went for a second.
But also, let me ask you something. When's the last time Chris Greer traded away a star, an established star, because Tunsil wasn't a star yet, but Tunsil, he got a ton back. Unless he gets a king's ransom, think about this. He does not lose trades. That's the one thing I'll give Chris Greer. Greer, the Bradley Chubb.
I didn't like the Bradley Chubb trade.
But the Bradley Chubb trade was a reactionary trade because they were doing well that year.
Still a bad trade.
But, yeah, I understand. But it was a first-round pick for Bradley Chubb who they ended up re-signing. No.
And you had to pay him.
No. Yes, but that was their choice. But at least they signed him. They weren't going to lose him.
Right.
My point is that he doesn't give up. He gets established players, but if he trades established players away, he gets a king's ransom back. Okay. He will not. He'll cut the guy, like a Christian Wilkins or Javon Holland or all these guys. He won't re-sign them or cut them. He will not trade them and lose the trade. That is not a Chris Greer MO.
Right.
He is not being traded because unless he gets a first and a player, he ain't trading Tyreek Hill.
You're not getting a first. I doubt
what
you.
What cred does he have? The cred is the fact that he will not trade for nothing.
Right.
He won't do it. He won't give away players.
But wait a minute. I agree. But when was the year that Chris Greer thought he was on the hot seat? This is different. This year, everything he's done in the past.
I don't think Chris Greer thinks about it like that. But I think Chris Greer does not think he cares if he's on the hot seat.
That's then he should be trading. Then he should be trading.
But he won't.
Hill.
No.
Then he should be trading Tyreek Hill.
He won't, because to him, I said this on the end of the season. If he could give up a first round pick to get a Max Crosby or Myles Garrett, he'll do it.
If he does that, that's a fireable offense.
But to him, that star player,
because it's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut.
Yes, but to him, that's another way of doing it. Because could you get that player in the draft? That's how he thinks about it. And I said, I like it. Maybe not.
But how much are you paying him versus the guy you're getting in the draft?
But all I'm saying for me with Chris Greer,
I know what you mean.
I have no problems with his trading. My problem with him is his drafting. Has nothing to do with trading. It's his drafting and his selection of head coaches. That's it. Because Mike McDaniel, he did the reverse. Mike McDaniel was your 2019 hire. Brian Flores was your 2022 hire. 23 higher, 22.
Yeah, you should have never. If your goal was to tank,
Mike McDaniel was your coach.
Yeah, agreed. And Josh Rosen was your quarterback. So wait a minute, you talked to Brian Flores for 5 minutes in a room, and you think this is the right guy to tank for?
Exactly.
That's like, okay, Mr. Ross, he's not the guy. Okay, he's not the guy. Where's Mike McDaniel? Where's the guy that the Houston Texans hired? Remember that lame duck coach? When the whole Deshaun Watson thing,
Romeo Cornell,
yeah, or somebody, no.
Oh, remember Jeff Saturday? Jeff Saturday was hired out of the booth, hired out of ESPN first day from Get Up to go onto the field.
Can we get Keith Simpson here or what? I mean, like,
in the end, it's a smorgasbord of a year.
Dude, it's all these problems.
They are going to get. I am more concerned about Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, those players, than I am about Tyreek Hill. I'm less.
Of course. I mean, but there is an issue here with Tyreek Hill.
There's nothing wrong with Tyreek Hill. He's a football player. I don't care. I don't care.
No, I don't care. But you can't get any assets for any other guys unless you're trading Jalen Waddle.
You can't trade him. That's simple.
Why can't you?
His legal battles, his star power, Miami, Ross, McDaniel.
Right, but that's a separate issue.
Getting traded.
Right, but that's a separate issue, right?
But they can't trade him. They're not going to get fair value for him this year. You're better off cutting him and getting the cap savings next year.
That's why they should have. I don't think they probably should have. I thought, again, when I tell you the beginning where this rebuild went wrong was acquiring him, right? And I was yes, Evan, because if you think about it, what was their plan? Acquire all these picks, and all of a sudden we went to acquire the picks, the picks, being a young team to an old team.
They were trying
It
the
didn't
Rams
work.
model. They were trying the Rams model.
Yeah, where was Matthew Stafford in this whole thing?
About to be traded.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
he knows. Want to know why? And Sean McVay's a smart coach. Why? Because Sean McVay knows he has a young team, and Matthew Stafford wants $50 million. There's a difference. Tyreek Hill has his money. The reason why the Rams can trade him now is because they're not on the hook for this large contract anymore.
How good was Tyreek Hill last year?
That's on Mike McDaniel.
Are we sure about that?
100%.
He dropped the.
I don't want to hear about the two safety deep.
Wait, yeah, I don't either.
They
I don't
never
either.
targeted him. It's BS. They never targeted him. I don't care if he's open or not. You never built a scheme to get the ball to Tyreek Hill when you were able to the year before.
Let me ask
that
you
is
this.
on coaching.
I still can't get over the fact.
I don't blame Tyreek Hill 1 ounce for anything that has taken place. I applaud him.
Okay, no. That that
I would be worse. I would be worse.
maybe they can sign you, Evan.
If I had to go look at that buffoon with his pulled up pants and his red his red ticketed running shoes, and but let me ask you, George. I love Florida. I'm from the cold, but whatever. I love the heat, so I'm good. What was the temperature on Saturday? Can you look back? What was the temperature approximately?
On Saturday?
Was it the 80s? 70s, 80s?
No, it's probably the 70s. It was
the 70s, right?
Yeah. I mean, look.
There was a picture. There's a picture. Okay? There's a picture. They're in the blaring sun on the F1 course. Have you ever stood in the blaring sun on an F1 course?
Oh, don't tell me about that.
No, stop. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. On an F1 course, when you're on that course, because of the heat and the traffic, the heat, it feels like 95 degrees. Tua's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Stephen Ross, shorts and a t-shirt. Tom Garfunkel, shorts and a t-shirt. Everybody is there wearing shorts and t-shirts. And there's a buffoon wearing jogging pants, a hoodie, and you're saying to yourself, what is wrong with this person? The man is dressed for 30, 40 degrees.
Wait. What time would you say that picture was? Around noon?
Yeah. The man is literally in the blaring sun. The beach is packed. He's dressed in a thick hoodie and jogging pants pulled up a quarter. The man is a fool. The man is a moron. The man is an idiot. Simple. As long as he is
in the
our
low
leader,
70s.
I don't care what you do with Tyreek. Unless he gives up play calling or the man gets a lobotomy, you better have Tyreek Hill to at least give your child a chance for Tua to be successful next year. I don't care. The whole two safety nonsense, I don't want to hear the BS about that.
The league's been doing that forever. The league's been doing that forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
If you can't, I guarantee you this. You bring in tomorrow with Tua, with Tyreek Hill, all that, and you bring in Kevin O'Connell, you bring in Sean McVay, I guarantee you they find a way to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. 100%. I don't want to hear this nonsense. It's about the play caller. It's about the moron with the headset. It's all that.
He's definitely part of the problem. No doubt.
When's the last time our quarterback audible?
But what was? Wait a minute. But when Tyreek was having those big years, wasn't Mike McDaniel the problem?
When Tyreek was having those years, having his great stats, Mike McDaniel utilized his star player and they gave us a chance to win.
Right. So now
when Tyreek Hill
adjusted.
When he misused it, but he misused Tyreek Hill a lot. Like when you use Tyreek Hill as literally as a check down a slant where you have no coverage and no blocking, forget it.
Yeah.
If I was him last year with Tyler Huntley, I would have literally just sent Tyreek Hill deep and just throw the ball in the air. I don't care. Let him fight for the football.
I do agree though. I think they got so caught up in this 2D thing that take what they give us, everything underneath, and they miss some stuff deep. I would agree with that.
You know what Patrick
100%.
Mahomes did in the Super Bowl till the fourth quarter until the Eagles gave up? He did the exact same thing.
Yeah. And instead of you take shots that are there, you don't. It's almost like we had this mind. We can only do one or the other. We can really have this exciting deep offense, or we can adjust and only have the stuff underneath. Like we can't do both for some reason.
Because for me right now, the whole foundation of the team is built around the structure of Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa. So with those two guys as the leaders of this team, you better have a Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry. You better have a Tyreek Hill.
But do we want those guys to be the leaders of this team?
Of course not.
That's
but
the
as
problem.
long as they are your leaders,
I think
he
if
gives you the
Tyreek
best
Hill's
chance.
right, Evan, I think if Tyreek Hill is going to be successful, though, I mean Tyreek Hill, Tua, the days of Tyreek Hill being the main guy is over for him. Like if it's going to be successful, it's going to be a running game. It's going to be a Jalen Waddle. It's going to be
Tyreek Hill
bigger
does not have 15 yards. If Tyreek Hill does not have 100 catches and 1,700 yards of offense next year, I'm telling you this right now, we don't win. Sorry.
I mean,
me and Greg and Brett say if you don't give Waddle, Smith, or if you're starting tight end and your two leading receivers don't combine for about 25 to 30 receptions a game, you're going to lose every football game with Tua as your quarterback. I don't care what your running game is. I don't care what your offensive line is. If they're on your team and you don't give them the football, they know you're going there. By the way, the moment you're check downing it to Achane, the moment you're handing it off to him, you know what Vic Fangio and all the defensive coordinators are saying? Give it to me all day. Give it to me all day.
They want them to do that. Yeah.
Every time.
Because you know what they think? They know the Dolphins are eventually going to make a mistake. Every time
Achane has the football, they're going, okay, no problem.
Right, but that's part of the reason why Tyreek hasn't been as successful.
Chris Perkins is right. Chris Perkins said it 2 years ago, and I hear it every day. There are two things about this offense. Tyreek Hill and the threat of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's not on the field, the Dolphins will not be successful.
Yeah, he's a gravity puller. There's no doubt. He does as much being a decoy as he does being a weapon, right? Like, that is true. But however,
for me, Waddle's been a major disappointment.
Well, look, make him the number one receiver. Get another type of receiver, a younger.
But he's not a number one.
But Evan, you're going to have to move off Tyreek very soon here. If you know that, right? It's you. I don't.
Straight up. Let me ask you. Straight up. No Tyreek Hill. Let's say Tyreek Hill didn't play next year. Was on the Dolphins. And you had the opportunity to draft Tate McMillan. Who's your number one, Waddle or McMillan?
I mean, it has to be Waddle. No, but it has to be. But why not both? Like, you know what I mean?
For Debo, if I trade
different, but they complement each other. They're not the same guy.
If Debo was on this team, he'd be better than Waddle. Waddle right now is not a top 20 receiver in this league,
right?
And he's getting paid like he is.
But A, he's younger. And B, let's see him alone without Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's taking a lot of the attention from him. Some of the things that they would go to Waddle. Let's get a McMillan, a 6'5" receiver, complements, Waddle. Then you get a little bit of bigger. Hey, let's say you sign a Najee Harris, right? I'm just throwing it out there. And you draft a couple linemen, you sign one, you tweaked it, you change your style.
They draft.
Wait, and you can't tell me, but you can't tell me, Evan, that they're not as successful. They won 9. What did they win? 8 games this year? A healthy Tua. What did they win? 9, 10? 10 games?
A healthy Tua and directing the ball to Tyreek Hill and a competent head coach. They win.
A healthy Tua with Tyreek Hill stats is still a 10-win team.
If they would have had a Joe Flacco or even you're going to laugh at me, but I'm not kidding.
Oh, gosh.
Zach Wilson behind center.
Oh, no. Okay, that's it.
End
the show.
By the way, you want to hear something? You know Zach Wilson won more games in just each year that he was with the Jets than Aaron Rodgers did last year?
The Jets are a mess.
Yeah, but Zach Wilson. By the way, you know what Zach Wilson could have done last year? You know what Zach Wilson could have done last year? He could have gotten the ball to Tyreek Hill because the guy has a cannon of an arm.
No, he would have got it to the guy covering Tyreek Hill.
No. Because Tyreek Hill with 50-50 ball, if you give Tyreek Hill...
Tyreek Hill's not a 50-50 ball guy. No way.
But if you throw it away from everybody, he'll go get the ball.
Oh, yeah, of course. But he's not a 50-50
No,
guy.
I don't think he's a 50-50 guy
at all. He's actually pretty bad at that.
I'm thinking,
if I see another fade, if I see another fade in the damn end zone to him, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to lose my mind. A 5'9" receiver, 5'8", and we're doing fades. I can't.
But in the end, the team structure, Tyreek Hill, to me, you take the good with the bad. And in the end, if you utilize him, there's more good than bad.
Yeah, I agree. Look, are they a better team with him? Yes. Is he their best offensive player? Yes. But I think for me, the time's coming to an end for him. The stuff that happened, I'm telling you, Evan, I know you say he's fine. This will pop up again. Okay, when he in week 4,
If they
when he
win.
has 3 catches,
When they win. If
right,
they lose,
right,
yes.
right,
If they
yeah,
win, then no.
right. No, week 11, he has, he's not having the best season, and he has 3 catches for 28 yards. The Mike's going to be in his face. Hey, do
You
you
know whose
still
fault
want to
that
be a
is, though?
Dolphin?
That's on him, but that won't be on Tyreek Hill.
But it doesn't matter. Do you
Doesn't
want to
matter to
face
me
that
either.
problem? The guy only has 1 year. He's 31. Move on now. I'm going to tell you, they should have traded. Yes, they should trade him, and they should have traded him last year. That's my opinion. I know you're going the other way. But
100% I'm going the other way.
But hey, I still can't get over the fact. You would agree the Chiefs are probably the one of the top 2 or 3 ran organizations in the NFL. For them to move off him, A, is a red flag.
It was the
B,
money.
wait,
It was strictly money.
If you want him, you could keep him. If
It
he's
was
that
strictly
important,
money.
you could keep him.
No, because they had
No,
Travis
I'm not
Kelce.
buying that. I'm not
They
buying that.
They had Travis Kelce and
You
Patrick
could have
Mahomes.
kept him. If they're
No.
so you're willing to offer him 25 but not 28, or 22 but not 26?
Yeah.
No,
They had cap cap problems, and they had to pay Mahomes, and they had to pay Kelce.
No, but why? But okay, they said what? Let's move off him
because he wasn't their number one weapon.
Right.
He was not their number one weapon.
1A, 1B.
No,
come on.
It was Travis
Kelce. Okay. So
let me ask you something.
Let me just finish it. Let me finish, and then you respond. One of the best organizations does decide to re-sign him, trades him to us. Go ahead, win 2 Super Bowls without him, and make a 3rd, but lose. What does that tell you? I always say, look who you're trading with. Look who's trading that player.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
He's a me player.
No,
the stats mean more than winning.
That team
That's all I've seen.
No, that team's a well-run organization, and our team is not.
Of course.
But that's not
Tyreek Hill's fault. A well-run organization moves off.
That's not Tyreek Hill's fault.
But that's not what I'm saying. A well-run organization moves off Tyreek Hill this offseason. Point blank, and they moved off him last off. Yes, they did.
Not with the current problem.
But also a well-run organization.
We don't have a well-run organization,
right? But also a well-run organization, in fairness, doesn't have a lot of other pieces that we have set in place. That's the problem.
A guy who played at Yale, a guy who's never actually called plays in his actual life till he got to Miami, as your head coach.
Well, I've always said this. The GM and Garfield and Ross are the biggest problems in the organization. Everything else is a chain reaction.
But Steve Ross, before he bought the team, he was worth about $5 billion. Since he's owned the team, he's worth about 12 or 13.
Oh, he's already made his money. He's living off. Yeah, he's already. That's no doubt. Garfield, who we should talk about real quick, has made him a lot of money, and that's why Garfield has a lot to say because
we're the worst. But the Miami
football
Dolphins
side is the worst run organization.
But you know who? No. You know who's also to blame for the descent of the Dolphins? You, me, every season ticket holder, because they treat them like crap, and they still spend the money.
But that every team's going to do that.
Have you gone to a Dolphins? When's the last time you were at a Dolphins game?
Last year.
The cost of the food.
Oh,
the cost to park. What they do to season ticket holders, they give them nothing, and then they send them a card to upgrade. They send everything by email. The way they treat them is absolute garbage. The Miami Dolphins, but the thing is that we can. I'll be honest with you. I have not purchased. I have a lot of Dolphins merchandise.
No,
I have not purchased a Dolphins item since before the season started, and I won't. I will not purchase one iota. I'll wear my stuff that I own. I will not give the Miami Dolphins 1 penny of my hard-earned money in merchandise or in tickets or purchases till I see that they're treating the fans and the organization is going in the right direction. They will not get a penny from me.
Okay, so I believe the Tyreek. We agree to disagree on the Tyreek thing. We kind of have the same thoughts.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, I thought you would go. I didn't. I thought you'd go the other way, but I'm glad because
I'm aware. I'm self-aware about it.
Yeah. So you know what? But I'm glad, right? It was fun to go back and forth on each side. I think we both have the same feelings pretty much about everything else in the organization. But I guess I look at a little more foresight, and it's time to get off them. But will they be less? I agree. They're going to be less dangerous. And it probably won't happen because McDaniel and Greer know their butts are on the line. But I want to see a desperate Chris Greer. Maybe something changes. Maybe something changes. But again, the guy above him, Tom Garfield, is the one I think is the biggest reason Chris Greer's still here. Why? Because Tom Garfinkel has Stephen Ross's ear more than anybody. He's, of course, he should. I don't blame Mr. Ross. Hey, you're making me all this money, the F1, all this stuff he's brought to him, no doubt. But he likes Greer because why? Greer causes no issues. No, he'll do whatever you say. He's just happy to be there. He's a perfect guy. A real football guy wouldn't be letting Tom Garfinkel in the room. But that's, again, Stephen Ross's problem.
There's no.
That's the problem.
The problem is above Chris Greer, there's no one who knows anything about football except Dan Marino. The thing is Dan Marino doesn't want anything to do with the stress of running a football.
He's also a yes man right now.
No, but I'm saying that for me, if you had a president of football operations above Chris Greer would have been gone years ago. Tom Garfinkel doesn't know a thing about football.
Yeah, any GM that's capable would not come to an organization where Tom Garfinkel's putting his foot in the football side.
He knows nothing about football.
Point blank. And I think the fans are just catching on now to how much he really is involved.
But if you want to know what kind of a disaster this franchise is,
Reggie McKenzie. No, look at that. Hey, you want to know? Look at that picture on the DCC. That of Tua, McDaniel, Garfinkel, and Ross. That picture is why, guys, we're.
Yeah. By the way, also Reggie McKenzie interviewed for the Titans job. Didn't get it.
I was hoping he got it.
And knows that he doesn't want to be part of this clown show anymore. He was willing to go to the team that's picking first in the draft to take a lateral move.
Yeah.
Let me get out of this dumpster fire that is an organization.
Yeah.
Boy. We're a dumpster fire.
All right, so let's end it on here. The combine's coming up this Thursday. We'll be live on the on-season. Me and Jason Sarney will be live on Thursday at 8 p.m.
Proud Expos fan, that guy.
Yeah.
I asked him about his favorite Expos. Him and
I will. Also, him and Poupard, huh?
They're both... Poupard and me can go all day.
Yeah.
But the only difference between those two, I still live in Montreal.
Oh.
Those two do nothing but Montreal.
Yeah, they left. All right,
they disappeared.
So yeah, we'll be live with Sarni at 8 p.m. on the on-season. Yeah. We'll be breaking down some of the D-line and linebackers who will be running that day. I don't know what time the combine ends, but we'll probably be on live 8, so I don't know if that's the end of it.
A lot of people are not working out anyways.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. I found out Genty wasn't working out, Sanders. But like they say, though, fast guys don't run. No, they say fast guys run, slow guys don't. Yeah. So, all right. So, anybody you're looking at the combine this week that you're looking for the Dolphins?
Honestly, for me, the combine is I'm more interested in the interviews. I want to see what Chris Greer does when he huddles with the Miami base of media. I'm curious to see what kind of nonsense Mike McDaniel is going to spew. Outside of that, the combine doesn't mean anything to me because the combine, the fact that someone can run a 4.2, a 4.24, or could jump X number of high or could throw the ball that deep is not really relevant to me because a lot of the stars who are in the first round are in the first round. For me, it's all about just getting a feel. I'm more interested in the rumors, the leaks.
Yeah, a lot happens there,
and the media. Everything else is just
for me. The skill guys though it's important.
Yeah, but I know who the skill guys are. But
we'll see. It should be an adventurous kind of. It's always an adventurous kind of 3 or 4 days. A lot of stuff. You're going to start hearing free agency stuff, trade stuff. That's when because all the teams are in one spot there. So that should be fun. Again, we'll be live on the on season there with you guys. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up there, Evan. We'll be in over an hour. We could do it for.
Our average time on overtime without even blinking is 2+ hours, and we don't. and we still have so much to talk about.
Yeah, we could keep going for hours. We definitly.
Anytime you want me back,
I'll be back on, man. So guys, always thank everybody who's in the chat. Bobby Finstock, Duke, Steve, Beach, BSO. Everybody, Armando, everybody in the chat, thanks you so much. I appreciate it. Again, subscribe, hit the subscribe button to the channel, help support the channel. And before we go, Evan, let everybody know where they can follow you and what you got going on.
You can find me at Finstanza on X, but if you really want to hear what I truly have to say, I save it for the Finstock Sports Network. The rants are like this are irregular. You can catch me on Finstock Overtime. We'll probably be on next week. We had this couple weeks. It's been a little tough for myself and the other guys. I'll probably jump in on the draft show. I'm always trolling on East 10th Street Boys or whatever shows are happening. You'll probably catch me on Doll's Diaries in about 20 minutes when she's having Will from 305 Sports. They're going to be on in a few minutes talking Canes and Eat and all that.
Nice.
But you'll always catch me there. I'm there. You want to know what's truly going on with Finstanza, you have to watch shows and you have to see me trolling in the comments.
Yeah, we'll definitely thank you. We'll definitely have you on again and again. We're on this Thursday, 8 p.m. on the On Season with me and Jason Sarni and myself. Check us out. All right. Thank you guys. Stay Fins faithful. We're out.